He is a New York Times best-selling author, publishing more than 35 books and selling over 10 million copies. He is also a business consultant, leadership coach, psychologist, and a family man. You may know him through his writings, such as the Boundaries series, Leading from Your Gut, The Entitlement Cure, or his most recent publication coming out in 2019, People Fuel. Dr. Townsend is also a family man. He and his wife Barbie have 2 adult children, Ricky and Benny. Barbie and John live in Newport Beach, California, only 10 minutes from our Irvine campus. An interesting fact is that one of the Townsend family passions is music and the arts, and Dr. Townsend performs in a band with his sons at Southern California lounges and venues. Dr. Townsend is also passionate about helping people achieve their best, most recently adding a personality assessment to the Townsend platform, entitled TPRAT, which stands for Townsend Personal and Relational Assessment Tool, which you will hear about more this evening. He also runs townsendnow.com, a digital platform with excerpts of his work, where you can access teachings, videos, and other digital coaching experiences interactively, all online. For more than 20 years, he has been engaging with leaders, organizations, and individuals around the globe, offering them executive coaching, corporate consulting, and giving conference presentations. He is a co-host of the nationally syndicated talk show New Life Live, which is heard in 180 different markets with 3 million listeners. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to now welcome the founder of the Townsend Institute, Dr. John Townsend.
Good evening. Welcome to the Townsend Institute. I'm John Townsend, and I really appreciate you guys spending your time exploring. This is the place you should be going. We have a lot of information for you. We're really excited about your interest, and we've been around now long enough to have graduates, and that's a great thing because now our graduates are telling us this is a great place to go. We want to tell you all about that. And I want to do a shout out to those people who, for the first time in this kind of meeting, this is what we call the information session, I want to do a shout out to the people that are actually looking at us also for a bachelor's program. There are some of you in that space. And we're really excited about launching that now because so many people, as we've been working with the Institute, have said, you know, I'd love to be working on a credential or I'd love to work on a master's, but I never got a bachelor's because, I don't know, I had a spouse and 2.5 kids and a mortgage all of a sudden and I couldn't get back to it. Well, we've got that for you now. So we can take you. You can finish up that bachelor's and go straight into the Institute and get your graduate certificate or your graduate master's. So excited about that. All right, I'd like to start off this talk with what I call the passion. You know, you are online because you have something inside you, and we call it passion, which is a focused, positive feeling about something that not only is focused, but it's sort of sustaining. And God is the author of passion. He puts passion into us so that we do things that we can't do. He does do things that stretch us. We do things that change the world. And you've got a passion, and that's why you're here. It might be a passion to heal because you're thinking about counseling and helping, and there's a deep part of you that says, I want to be part of God's healing process. Some of you have a passion to run an organization, to be a small business owner, or to work in the corporate world, or be in a nonprofit, or to pastor a church. And there's this thing driving you that says, I really want to lead well. I want to be trained to lead well. Some of you have a passion to be an executive coach or to be a consultant and somebody who goes into organizations and helps train their people to be better. Well, that's how God does it. Everything starts with passion because things are hard to do, and passion keeps you going. So I'm going to give you like a few seconds to just bring to mind that passion before we start, because I really want it to be front and center of your neurology. We're going to talk neurology tonight, of why you're here. Just think about it for a second. Okay. I hope it's in there. I hope it's embedded. I hope you're thinking about it. Now, what I want to tell you about from my perspective is what is unique about the value of what you would get at the Townsend Institute. We are very, very excited and proud about the program and what you get that we think is unique that you can't get at other places. And so I just want to go down what we've observed and noticed and what our students and our graduates tell us. First of all, they spend more time with me than you would expect. Now, some people will say, well, that's not an advantage. People that know me well will say, that's a disadvantage. Well, no, that's not really true. It's an advantage. And the idea is, we've got this online program. Well, online for us is not sitting in your kitchen with your bunny slippers on, drinking your hot chocolate with a laptop. Online means that we are as highly relational as possible. We are trying to kind of bridge that gap and merge the difference between virtual and face-to-face, residential to online, so that you can hardly tell the difference. And what that meant was I'm spending a lot of time engaged with you. I'll give you some examples. We have a program called the Virtual Classroom. You're all invited to it when you're students. In a virtual classroom, I show up at our studio, and all you guys are there in one time. Do it several times a year for each program: coaching, consulting, leadership, counseling. And I'm there for several hours with you, and you're all there online. And there's this big screen. If you remember the Brady Bunch, it's like all the faces are popping up all over the place. All over the world, our students are there. And I'll give content. I'll talk to you and give you content. If you're an OL, I'll talk about strategy sessions and how to get vision and inspire people. If it's about counseling, I'll talk about depression, anxiety, and drug abuse. And then what I'll do is I'll just answer questions. Whatever questions you've got, I'm there. And it gets very personal because I'll just say, okay, Sally from Finland, what's your question? She'll say, I want to know some things about culture. Great. Bill in Hawaii, what's your question? Hi, my name's Bill in Hawaii. I want to know what to do about PTSD. And I'm answering your questions because I wanted to get to know you and you know us. Also, we have a 4-day kickoff. The beginning of your program, and for you it'd be this coming August, you're going to come in for 4 days and spend intensive time with us here at the beautiful Concordia University Irvine campus, where you basically get immersed in our culture. We take you through lots of trainings that I'll give, lots of speaking. I'll have our fellows, which are our experts, friends of mine that come in and talk. I'll tell you about those later. They'll speak. But also, we put you into intensive process growth groups, where you're trained by one of our great facilitators. And what they do is they help you with things like EQ, your emotional intelligence. They help you with the things that have been holding you back, your personal things. It's really a breakthrough experience because we want to put out people who aren't just trained and smart, but they're not crazy. I don't want to really train smart, crazy people out there. I want people to be healthy and know everything God's got for them. So we're there for the kickoff. Also, I've made over 300 videos for the Institute. I go in the studio and I make videos on all of our coursework. So when you come in and it's your Tuesday night to be with your cohort, your group, to whatever class you're in, there'll be a video by me while I introduce the topic and say, here's some things that I think are important for that topic. Then your professor takes over, I lateral to him or her, and then they take it away. But I'm always there. My books are integrated in all our classrooms and our curriculum and my concepts. So I'm all over the place. Secondly, we spend a lot of time making this a relational program for you and your fellow students, your small group called your cohort, and also with your professors. They answer questions. It's not just kind of like write a white paper and you never see this person. There's conversations, there's chatting, there's text, this sort of thing, because we want to make sure you feel connected to them. What we found out in the research from neuroscience, and by the way, neuroscience is what I really study now because it basically says that everything that God said in the Bible is true. Everything God said about success, about relationship, about obstacles, about challenges, neuroscience is showing that God had it right all along. One of the things that neuroscience says is that there's a power of relationship to make you achieve more and be more encouraged. We give you that because we are so connected. We so connect you to the people in the group. Also, our professors are very, very approachable. If a professor's got low EQ, we don't have them. They're all like interesting and smart, and they like you and they're funny. All right, skill building. We designed this to be marketable because there's a market out there and it's waiting for you. You see the market of the counseling world or the church world or the corporate world or the small business world. We want to make sure that you have the skills that are, like second to none. I'll give a great example of this. I talked to a graduate recently and I said, how was your experience? And she said, well, you won't believe this. She said, when I was in the program, I was in human relations, human resources. And I started with a program, but I was in this job. And in this job in HR, my boss came to me and said, I want you to work with this guy over here and this guy over here. And they don't like each other. And they're both kind of like like silo thinkers, they're not very connected, and you've got to fix them. And she said, I used the principles I learned, especially about relational attunement. We'll talk about that, about how to get along. And she said, I made them work together because I made them connect to each other. And all of a sudden, the company started doing better. She says, my boss came to me and said, where'd you learn all this stuff? And she said that the Institute, he said, I'm going to pay for your tuition the rest of the time. People are finding that much value because we're always studying what are the latest skills that you can apply as soon as you graduate. We have what are called the Fellows program. Now, Fellows, there's gal fellows, and there's guy fellows, and there's male females, and there's fellows, and there's female fellows. Fellows are just people, if you went to any university, it's people who have accomplished great things that you want to have contact with. I have lots of friends who have done things like written New York Times best-selling books, sold millions of copies, run billion-dollar businesses, run great ministries and churches. And what I do is I engage with them, and they come and talk to you either on Skype or live. They come at the kickoff and speak to you, or they're on the virtual classroom and they're speaking to you. And not only do they speak to you, you can also ask them questions. You have access to the secret sauce of great, great leaders, great ministers, pastors, great counselors who are writing the books that you're all studying. You get access to them. For example, Ken Blanchard, the guy that started all the management. John and Julie Gottman, the #1 marital counseling researchers in the world. Sue Johnson, EFT and attachment. People like that. Greg Brenneman, who was president of United Airlines. So you get access to these kind of people that you can't get anywhere else. We are also flexible and online, as you know, and affordable. We really want to make it worth your time, and so we have priced it in the moderate range, probably in the low to medium range of pricing for schools that are like ours. And also, we have a foundation that is research-based, biblically based, my experience-based, and also neuroscience-based. So everything you're looking at has got studies behind it. We talk about Bible passages that pertain to this, and we give you sort of an understanding of the foundational, what we call the growth paradigm. If you join us, you'll hear about the growth paradigm because we have a very clear paradigm of what works with organizations, of what works with struggling people, of what works with leaders. So I want to also give you a present, a little gift. There's an online assessment tool. Now, I'm kind of an assessment freak. Like if you get on Facebook, take an assessment and find out if you're a giraffe or an elephant, those funny things. Well, I wrote one. It's called the Townsend Personal Relational Assessment Tool, TPRAT, TPRAT for short. It takes 10 minutes. You take it online, and it costs $25 normally, but if you sign up and you apply with us, you get it for free, and you're in with us, and you find out your assessment. You find out how well am I relating to other people. We call that bonding. You find out how good are my boundaries. I wrote a bunch of books about boundaries and saying no. You'll find out how strong your boundaries are. How well do I deal with tough realities? Can I deal with problems and not be derailed? How much am I capable in life? Do I know my purpose, my mission? Do I feel like an adult? You'll get scores. You'll get skills to go to the next level. It's all yours if you sign up. So that was a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm sorry if it sounded like you're drinking out of a fire hydrant. I'm just so excited you're being here. But let me just kind of loop back for a second. What did we start with? We started with your passion. Now I want you to bring it back up in your head for a second, whatever it is that makes you go online with us, to be curious about us, the thing that God put in you. And I just want you to think for a second, could this place be a place to develop and express and be trained in my passion? I want you to come with us. I want you to know us, and I want us to know you. All right, so I hope it's going to be a great experience for you. All right, Aubrey, who knows all things about the Institute that I can never answer. Aubrey, take it away.
Thank you for that intro, Dr. Townsend. That's probably doing me a little more justice than I deserve. So I'm Aubrey. I am the program coordinator and academic advisor for the graduate programs at the Townsend Institute. And I'm really excited that you guys are here tonight. We also have a few other staff members that you'll interact with, and that's our admissions team is on the chat, which is Tara Hafman, Patty Hunt, Taylor Cerna. On the chat, you'll also see our executive director, who is chatting in tonight from Wabash, Indiana, and that's Scott Macon. So they'll all be available to answer your questions. We also want to hear what questions you have for us, for Dr. Townsend, and for our student guest with us tonight as well. So please send in your questions to the chat, and we'd be happy to answer as many as we can. If you guys registered for this session, you guys probably got a series of videos. If you haven't gotten a chance to check those out yet, you can find the link for those on the chat. And you can access them anytime that way. So let's start tonight's questions off with a question for Dr. Townsend, and that question is, how did you and Scott come up with the idea for these programs?
Thanks, Aubrey, and no, it's not doing you justice. You probably need more justice than I've even said.
Well, thanks.
Aubrey mentioned somebody named Scott. I got to tell you about Scott. Scott Macon is the co-founder with me of the Institute, and kind of the 30-second version of this is that Scott said, I think that the stuff that you're teaching, he and I have been some other organizations together, he said, you need to develop something that will train people formally. And I said, well, just tell them to go to Amazon and buy a book. That's how they'll train. He said, no. I mean, really training. I want you to train a grad school. And I said, I just can't do it. I'm really busy. And Scott basically said, if you don't do this, then maybe when you die and go to heaven, God will be mad at you. And he understands that I'm really motivated by guilt. So I did have to think about the spiritual implications. But I did start thinking after Scott said that, people do need training. And I've seen a lot of leaders and counselors and coaches that don't get great training. So Scott quit his job and went out and found a school. And here we are, great, beautiful Concordia University, Irvine, California. The fact that it's 10 minutes from my house is irrelevant, has nothing to do with all this. And we found this marriage with Concordia. It was wonderful. And what we decided to construct together was, let's make something that's really special, that a person will go in and go, I'm connected. I'm not just sitting here in front of a monitor. I'm connected to people that like me, and they want to struggle with me, and they want to know me as a person as well as help me train. And that's where it happened. And we've been really excited to be part of this. We feel like it's a family, and we want you to feel like you're in a family, because school's hard. Graduate school's hard, and we want you to feel like there's a support behind that, and we think we're second to none. Even in a residential setting, we're second to none in making you feel connected.
Very well said. We do feel that way, and we do want you guys here with us, and want to do everything we can to support you guys through grad school. I have another question, and that is for you, John. We have a question that asks, how do you recommend deciding between a certificate and a master's degree? We have 3 different topics to choose from. So we have counseling, executive coaching and consultation, and org leadership. Within those, there's all a master's degree, an advanced certificate, and a professional certificate. So the question is really, what's the difference maker between a certificate and a master's degree?
Yeah, first of all, just to define the terms, a certificate takes you so many courses. Advanced certificate means courses on top of that, and a master's is a full-fledged, a degree. Certificate takes you on the way to a master, but you can do 1, 2, or 3. You have to decide what you want based on 2 things, I think. One is your current training, and the other is your current bandwidth, your training and your bandwidth. If you already have a master's in counseling, for example, lots of people come who already have a master's in counseling, but they say, I like the approach here. I like the biblical and deep research and the attachment stuff, and I like the neuroscience. And so it's just like they'd say, I'd like to get a training in EMDR, PTSD, EFT. Well, they get a certificate with us. So that's the matter of the present training you have. If you've got an MBA, maybe you don't want an MOL with us. Maybe you want to get a certificate with us. Maybe you've already got an MOL. Now, the second question was the question of what I said, bandwidth. Some people just don't have time to take the coursework. Our counseling degree will take us probably 2 to 3 years. I've got a guest who's coming on who's just graduating in a couple of weeks who did the 3-year program in 2 years. She's just fast and smart. But that takes you time. So you might say, I only have a year. So look at how much time you've got. Aubrey and her associates will tell you, here's how many courses it'll take to get where you want to do. But always look at bandwidth, which is how much your resources and time are, and also look at your current training.
Another thing that's important to consider when you guys are looking at certificate and master's degrees is what you want to do. For example, if you want to be a licensed counselor, you have to have that master's degree. A certificate's not going to get you there by the state requirements. So that would be another thing I would just recommend to take into consideration. Dr. Townsend, we have another question for you. Erica McKinley asks, she's heard that this program really focuses on personal development and growth. Can you speak a little bit to why we integrate that into our program?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Erica. Like I said in my opening remarks, We just don't want to put out people who are really smart and trained and are just kind of like, I don't know, dysfunctional. I want somebody to come out who knows themselves and knows who they are, and they have a personal identity, and they function very well in relationships. You ever worked with somebody in a job who was really smart and knew their stuff, but you would not want to have lunch with them because they were so crazy and toxic? We don't want to put that out. Secondly, now that we look at all the research about success, what we found out is, guess what? The Bible was right all along. Look at Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5. A person's heart are deep waters, and a person of understanding draws them out. Our hearts are deep waters. Some of us have delved into our deep waters, the Bible says, and looked at like our past and our strengths and our weaknesses and our hurts, and we've dealt with them, and we've done growth and seen our strengths and done forgiveness and all this. Some of us haven't done this. It's kind of scary. Well, we have built in and integrated the program the fact that not only are we going to give you the marketable skills, but we want you to be whole in Christ. We want you to be a person who connects well, who's very confident, who knows who they are. So we spend a lot of time on those. And guess what? You find out the people who go into personal development are the people who succeed. Look at all the research these days in business. What does it say? Culturally eat strategy for breakfast. What is culture? Culture means how people engage. So we want you to be a whole person. That's why we call ourselves competency and character. Our mantra is competency. You'll get the marketable skills, but character. We want you to be a whole person. That's why we are called a holistic program. Body, soul, mind, and spirit. Well, I don't know about the body part. If you don't want to work out, you don't have to, but all the rest will do.
Dr. Townsend, our program is a cohort model, and I think we've done that pretty strategically. Could you talk to our prospective students a bit about why we went with the cohort model?
Yeah, the word cohort means a band, like comrades. Cohorts are people that kind of walk through things with you. And so instead of having, 20,000 people around the country, around the world that don't know each other, we put you into small little groups. Now, those groups are all around the world. Those people are, but with the magic of the internet, it's not a problem. So we have you take your courses with the same people that are in all the way through, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, and you know each other. You know each other's families. You know each other's backgrounds. You know the strengths and weaknesses. I was just talking to somebody you're going to introduce to you later tonight. I said, how's it going? You're getting ready to graduate. And she said, well, the best thing for me was the cohort. And I said, tell me about it. She says, we still text every day after 2 years. Let me say that again. We text each other every day. How are you doing? I'm having a bad day, having a good day. All right, let me talk to me. I'm on your side. I'm on your team. 2 years. Do you get that kind of support right now? We build it in there because we found that the people who are supported, who have people around them that know them, do a lot better. There's an old saying that I like to use. It says, if I want to be fully loved, I must be fully known. So you can't be loved the way that God wants you to be loved until somebody knows you. We build the knowing into the relationships.
Christina is wondering if you implement any connection with Christian spiritual formation and counseling into your program.
Absolutely, Christina. We believe deeply in the spiritual formation aspects, and so we'll be covering that in our coursework. Spiritual formation now is its own discipline. And one day, Scott and I would love to have a master's of spiritual formation or directorship. We don't have that yet, but we make sure that the spiritual aspects of Christian counseling are there. Because what is it? God's a healer. So even though God uses things like attachment, and He uses things like interventions, and He uses things like techniques, He also uses His Spirit, and we put those two together.
John, we hear that you have a new book coming out, People Fuel. So we're all wondering a little bit about where the idea for People Fuel came from and how it's being integrated into the program.
Thanks, Arby. We're really excited about that. Yeah, the book's coming out June 25th, and the idea of the book is that God made people really the fuel of how we're supposed to have energy and be positive and be focused and be successful. So many times in faith issues, people say, well, I get my energy from God. We call it the vertical view. I get it from God and reading the Bible and the Holy Spirit, and goodness gracious, there's so many passages about the vertical. We've got to get energy from God, but also we get energy from other people. It says in Ecclesiastes 4, it says, woe to you if not another person lifts you up. It's got to be other people in your life. It's not just us and God, it's us and others. So I came up with a concept of what are called relational nutrients. Think about bionutrients. You know, everybody's healthy these days, right? So you take your bionutrients. If you get, take your little supplements in the morning, right? For example, calcium. If you take enough calcium, you're pretty healthy. If you don't have enough calcium, guess what you get? You get bone problems. What about iron? If you don't have enough iron in your system, in your bloodstream, you get anemia. So if you don't have the supplements, the bionutrients, things break down. Well, the same thing is true with what I'm calling relational nutrients. Relational nutrients means those are the elements of health that we give to each other. And I have a model of 22 relational nutrients divided into 4 quadrants. And I'm not going to be too technical about that. We have a card. And you know what? We'll find a way to get that card to you if you sign up tonight. You're going to get the test and a free card. And the way it works is, I'll give you some examples of this. Sometimes people just need acceptance. You know, I just need to know that I screwed up and I made a bad mistake at home or with my kid, or made a mistake at work, and I'm just judging myself. I beat myself up. You might have to say to somebody, I just need to know you accept me. And that person goes, yeah, I do. I'm not mad at you, and I'm for you. I would never judge you. I'm your friend. They just transfer the relational nutrient of acceptance. Now, those are what we will call being present, the quadrant of being present. Sometimes we just need to shut up and be present with each other and listen and be there with each other deeply without a lot of advice. Second quadrant is the quadrant of conveying the good. Sometimes we need encouragement. Somebody just to say, I believe in you. I know you're having a down day, but I believe in you. And I'm not going to give you any advice because you're a smart person, but I'm on your team. They're just encouraging us. They affirm good things. The third quadrant is the quadrant of what's called providing reality. Sometimes we need truth. We need things like, one nutrient is perspective. I need somebody who's wise to go, here's what's really going on, I think. Or I might need feedback from somebody. So that's when we kind of get information, insight, and truth from people. And the fourth one is call to action. Like, I need to do something. I need to get a plan. And these are the people that say, I need to do 3 steps. I need to go get a program. I need to go to a conference. Do something about this. And so the relational nutrients are how we obey what the Bible says about being health to each other, and we learn these skills. So the book's about that. You'll be seeing me on hearing me on lots of podcasts. They're setting up right now. We're going to be doing TV and radio. And the cool thing is, I sent the manuscript by the permission of the publisher to the people running the Institute with me, and they're taking excerpts from it, even before it's published, to go ahead and integrate it into our coursework. Now, it'll be fully integrated, once the book is out and in the stores. But right now, people are now learning the concepts of People Fuel before the book's out. So we're very excited about it. It's sort of like our manual for the Institute. It's taken me a few years to write it, but sort of like the things that you'll be learning are now in one book.
So I mentioned before, we have a few different topics that we discuss in our program with executive coaching and consultation, organizational leadership, counseling. We also have our bachelor's degrees with leadership studies and organizational psychology. What would be the differentiation between the coaching, org leadership, counseling-related fields if someone was maybe looking at a couple different programs?
Yeah, there's certainly overlap because the growth paradigm is consistent. You heal and grow and succeed all by the same approach. But if you look at the differences, with counseling, it's about healing brokenness, depression, anxiety, thought disorders, substance issues, alcoholism, addictions, and that sort of thing. And so the goal of the counselor is to go deep within that person, to go past what we call the symptoms. This is my pain. Well, like the doctor once said, you ever had this before when a guy said, I've got a pain over here, and the doctor says, what have you got? And the guy says, I got a pain here. And when I touch this, and the doctor said, well, don't touch it anymore. It's not really helping. We go deeper underneath, and we don't help you treat depression. We really help you treat a depressed person. We don't help you fix anxiety. We help you fix an anxious character, an anxious soul. So if you love the healing and love to see the lights come on when the pain people are in and find transformational hope, counseling's for you. And that puts you into either a private practice or an NGO, an organization, a county organization. It could put you into a church setting. Then executive coaching and consulting has to do with the business and organizational aspect. You want to work with churches, you want to work with corporations, you want to work with businesses, and you want to be the specialist that goes in, trains their leaders, builds them up, gets to know them very deeply, and go in and help the organization with its culture, with its strategy, with its execution, with its efficiencies, with its leadership teams. So you're the fireman or firewoman going in and helping them to achieve great things. The third one is organizational leadership, where you actually want to be the CEO or the manager or the owner or the pastor or the executive director, and we give you the skills it needs to move and inspire an entire organization from vision to mission to strategy to execution. So it depends on what you want to do, whether you want to be the healer, whether you want to develop leaders in organizations, or whether you want to have your own.
All right, looks like we have a question about K-CREP. This is specific to the students or prospective students that are looking at the counseling programs. K-CREP is a counseling-specific accreditation, and we are really, really excited to be partnering with K-CREP. Where we're at right now is we are in process. If you go on their website, you can look up our program, see that it's in process with K-CREP. They're actually coming out here the first week of May, and we're doing a site visit, which is means we're pretty far in the process, and we're hoping it's a very good sign. We'll know shortly after that site visit and some conversations back and forth where we stand with getting that accreditation. So if we're granted that accreditation, anyone that graduates within a year and a half before granting that accreditation will be grandfathered in. So we are really, really excited to be partnering with K-CREP and excited about where we're at in the process. John, I have another question for you. Christina asks about how you keep up to date on the latest research in neuroscience.
Hi, Christina. Is this Christina 1 or Christina 2? Either there's two Christinas or like, you're really a smart person with lots of great questions. Christina, great question, by the way. Well, number one, my DNA is I'm an information junkie. I mean, that's how I relax, is I just love information. One time I was on the internet and I reached the end of the internet. It's just a joke. But I just love getting new data in my head because of all the good of it. And since I've got to write all the time, I'm already always doing social media and blogs and books, I go to it. So what I have is favorite journals that I like, and I also have blogs that I read. And so I'm kind of like, I go to them kind of faithfully and look at what's going on there, read the articles and see what the research is. But you know what else? I talk to people who are really good at these things. Some of our fellows are very, very good at neuroscience and these sorts of things. So I'm kind of having conversations organically, you know, just coffee and telephone conversations. Kurt Townsend, for example, a psychiatrist and who's one of our fellows in Virginia, who is an expert in neuropsychiatric relationships. People like that, we've got them around us. So I do it either organically or I go to the journals myself.
All right, keep putting those questions on the chat if you guys have any further questions. We also have a student soon-to-be alumni coming up in a little bit. So if you guys have any questions related to the student experience for her, you can go ahead and send those into the chat right now also so we can make sure we get them answered. Another question that we have would be about, Dr. Townsend, tell us a little bit about your history and how you got into doing what you're doing right now.
Well, Aubrey, I didn't plan on this. You know, some people, their curve for finding their purpose in life is a straight line. Mine was not. Mine was very circuitous. Think Abraham. I was going to be a missionary. I was going to be a missionary to the Middle East and Africa. I'd been accepted by a missions group, and I went to a seminary, Dallas Seminary, to get my master's in theology. You know, 3 years of Greek, 2 years of Hebrew. And what happened was, since I had a bachelor's in psychology, a psychologist who was a faculty member at the seminary said, "Do you want to get in a process group?" And I thought, yeah, that's a Bible study where you study Leviticus and pray for your Aunt Sally in Idaho. And so he said, "You want to get in that?" I said, "Sure." And I got in it. And I got in this thing the same thing that we've been doing in the kickoff for all this time. I got with a master like a Yoda who was very good at this stuff and 8 other seminary students, and it was transformational, guys. I saw marriages healed. I saw people who had bad self-image transformed. I saw people develop their gifts. I saw them have more energy. And I'd never seen anything like that. And I've always loved teaching, and I always loved the information, but I wanted to do that deeper process. So I went to my mentor at the time, who was the faculty member. I said, I want to do this. He said, okay, great. Well, once you've got your master's, what do you want to do? I said, I just want to go out and put up a shingle and put my name on it, and people come see me. He said, I think you need to go to a graduate program. And I said, I just finished a graduate program. He said, I know, but I want you to go to one. And I said, what's plan B? I don't want to do this again. He said, I just want you to think you need to do it. So I did. I graduated, and then I got another degree. I got my PhD in psychology. And from that point on, that's when I met Henry Cloud, who we've written so many of our books together, the Boundary series, How People Grow, those sorts of things. And we partnered in a health business where we had 10 inpatient psychiatric centers on the West Coast between Seattle and San Diego, and about 30 outpatient counseling programs. We had about 100 doctors working with us. And we learned our skill and our craft. Everything we were studying in our program, we learned to apply there. That's when the book started, and that's when the radio started, and this sort of thing. And so then about 20 years ago, I started working with leaders very intensely, taking the same principles of healing and saying, okay, if these things help, if relationship and vulnerability and truth-telling and insight help with a depression and a marriage, would they help an organization that's a billion-dollar organization become a multi-billion-dollar organization? And yes, it did. So a lot of my time is spent now with organizations, leaders, and families. But like I said, it was circuitous.
All right, thank you everybody for sending in your questions, and Dr. Townsend for answering those. What we're going to do now is, you guys heard, you heard that John is integrated in the program and that you have a lot of interaction with him as a student. And we have a video for you showing that student interaction, so you guys can see just a little bit of how around he really is.
I feel the help. Oh. Whoa! Whoa! That's a bad idea.
Come on in. You're just be present. I didn't want to do this. I was afraid to do this. I don't speak in public, and you did that.
I'm so proud of you. This is wonderful.
I came for this process group and this time anticipating I would learn something about counseling and whether or not this was the path I wanted to be on. What I learned instead was about myself and life and how to be a human being. It taught me so much more than anything about counseling.
Yeah. Whoa! Yeah!
Well, I hope that the video showed you how much energy we have and love to be with, and how engaged we want to be with you guys as students. All right, I have a special gift for you guys right now. I want to introduce Kaylee Housewright, and Kaylee is 2 weeks away from your master's in counseling. Almost done, but if she does a bad job with the interview, we got to rethink all this. So I don't know. So be pulling for her. Kaylee, welcome and congratulations. And tell us the story of how this all happened, that you came to us and why you picked it and your experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Kaylee Housewright. I'm actually a co-founder of an international nonprofit. And so a lot of what I do is not only in the States, but overseas. We work with human trafficking victims, specifically sex trafficking. And within it, we have a restorative and reintegration project called Sheer Love International, where those coming out of trafficking get to partake in a school of cosmetology and barbering and end up becoming licensed within their country. And of course, a part of that is knowing that restoration has so many pieces and how vital and imperative the counseling aspect is to create a whole person. So along with the training program we just knew that this was something I was passionate about, and passion is so valuable. But within some of this work, passion only takes you so far. And something my grandfather had told me before he passed was, don't deny the people you want to serve of your fullest potential. And so for me,
Say that again. Guys, listen to this. This is very good. What did he tell you?
My grandfather, my papa. Before he passed away, the last thing that he really talked to me about was, don't deny the people that you want to serve of your fullest potential. And so for me, that was education, and how valuable, how imperative that is when you're wanting to truly serve people and equip them, is to equip yourself. So I was actually applied and got into a program, and then I got engaged. I knew I still wanted to travel overseas for the work that we do, but I also knew I wanted to get licensed. And so beautiful God's timing, met with someone through the foundation that was working within the Institute, and I just happened to say, hey, do you by chance, I heard you're in schooling, do you by chance know of an institute that does mainly online where I could be overseas? He's like, let me tell you about the Townsend Institute. And I've been all over the world doing this program, and it's been absolutely indescribable.
So you feel equipped and ready to take on your ministry with the stuff you've learned, especially about the deeper aspects of counseling, ready to go?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And not even just, yes, I did the counseling course, but even in regards to leadership. I mean, we're running an international nonprofit and realizing the vitality of pouring into the missionaries, pouring into your leaders. You know, what's in their bucket? What are they pouring out to those we are serving? And especially our training program. You know, we need to be truly equipped to be on the front lines against injustice. And so I feel extremely equipped within this program. And even my professors have told me, I wish I took this program. I wish I had this when I was going to school. And that's a really cool thing to hear from some of these amazing instructors.
So Kaylee, we are so happy we're partnering with Kaylee because it matters to her what we're doing, and it matters to us what she's doing. So tell us a little bit about some of the highlights of your experience with us, because we think we have some unique things that people like you, the students who paid attention, kind of go, this is a good thing.
Yeah. So you may or may not be able to tell, I'm a people person. So in the beginning I was like,
I couldn't tell. There's no way.
I have to be in person. That's the only way I'm truly going to benefit, is being there in person. And one of the most valuable experiences that I got from this program was the kickoff conference. And here's why, is the process groups. They did this intricately beautiful job of creating a community. And not just a community, a family. I mean, honestly, my cohorts are so engraved in my heart and a part of my everyday life. I mean, it's almost like you go through intensive group therapy in the beginning. But, you know, I even remember one individual, we barely knew each other for like a day. And in process groups, we were standing behind her using a technique, and she was being able to stand up for herself in a way that she had never been able to in her life. And she kind of lost track of words, and we got to step in.
And do the words for her.
Do the words for her. Yeah. To the point where at the end, we were wheeling out this empty chair. And we're like, you got this, girl. And you know what? Those individuals are graduating with me. And I went to school the day after I gave birth because I wanted to be with my Townsend family. It was that important to me.
Yeah. You know, not many people have a place that they can be totally vulnerable and confidential and safe.
Absolutely.
And deal with the stuff that they've been hiding or afraid to deal with or embarrassed. And there's this place called process groups where it is so safe to say, guys, whatever it is, we can deal with it. Yep. And that's kind of what happened to you.
Yeah, and you know, in regards to the process groups, something that I really learned was that kind of how dare us not be willing to go where we want our clients to go. Leadership and counseling in all the areas. And so the mismatching experiences that we yearn to create with those we are serving.
Well, there's kind of a techno word there. Tell us what you mean by mismatching.
Mismatching experience.
It's a very good thing to remember.
Yeah, and being able to step in and give them an experience that they needed, that's healthy and positive, that they have not been able to experience. It's redirecting those illicit core learnings, the unsaid messages that they grew up with that were potentially unhealthy. And so we get to practice that with each other. We get to put ourselves in that seat first. And I feel like some of the value of that is we truly comprehend the vitality of this work because we put ourselves within it.
I'll give you an example. And this is kind of what Kevin's been talking about. Suppose I was working with somebody, gosh, it was a while back, and they got caught into porn addiction. It was bad, and he was really ashamed and embarrassed. He was a Christian. And so every time he talked about it, somebody would say, well, I mean, something's wrong with you. I mean, do you even have faith? And so he went with us, and he had a mismatching experience where he poured out his heart about how much in bondage he felt to it and how awful and dirty and all that. And a person came to him and said, I'm on your side. I want to be your friend. You don't turn me off. And all of a sudden, what happened? We just started weeping because his brain could not comprehend that he would get grace in a place of shame. That's what we call a mismatching experience, and it's transformational. I don't care whether you're in the counseling program or the executive coaching program
Yeah.
or the organizational leadership program, we all need to get our innards fixed, right?
Amen. Amen. Free people, free people.
Say that again.
Free people, free
Did your
people.
grandfather teach you that one too, or?
No, my co-founders taught me that one.
It's really good. It's really good. Well, Kaylee, thank you so much for your
Yeah.
help. Any advice you want to tell people who are kind of going, hey, I'm looking at a lot of options, these things sound okay, but any encouragement you want to give people who are considering us?
Yes. You know what? And this is in a very positive way. It is rigorous. And it is the most...
Okay, we got to quit now. So,
Oh, let me keep going. I got to
We
respond
are
it.
rigorous, so go ahead.
It is, no, in the best way possible. It is rigorous because it is the most excellent education that you're going to receive. But again, I did it in 2 years, and I was traveling overseas, moved across country. I got married. I got pregnant. I had a baby. And again, because of the community that they create and because of the rigorous excellence of it, it just fuels the passion inside of you, and you're taught by people who are so beyond passionate about it. So if you're thinking about it,
we draw the best out of you, I think. Like whatever's inside you, we
100%.
draw the best.
yeah, and I honestly, I pray that I get to invest in, and I have invested in my clients in the way that the Institute has prepared me for. But no matter what, I grew 100% because of it, and I will never take that back.
Kaylee, you kind of said it all. I hope you guys paid attention to that because she was where you were 2 years ago. Thank you very
Yep.
much.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
See you in 2 weeks of graduation.
Amen.
All right.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you here. If you guys tuned in tonight and you'd like to fill out an application, we are waiving the application fee for you, so that is $50 back into your pocket. You will just want to use the code START19 to make sure that you do not pay an app fee. If you have any trouble with that, please contact your admissions counselor. And if you guys would like to get your TPRAC codes or find out about a $500 scholarship, please contact your admissions counselor by email. I'm going to turn it back to Dr. Townsend for a few final words for our prospective students tonight.
Thanks, Aubrey. Let me tell you a little bit about the research on regret. You know, I'm a research junkie, right? They studied people who, over their longitudinal many years of their life, they studied people like in their 80s and 90s who had lived a very, very long life, and they studied what they regretted. And they asked them in 2 dimensions. What things do you regret not doing, and what things do you regret doing? And the research came out so clear that 85% of the things that people regretted were what they didn't do. You don't want to live a life that's so careful that you just make sure that you don't take any chances. We want you to take a chance with us and take a risk with us because we believe that we have a sound, interesting, practical program. Give us a try. We're looking forward to meeting you. Give us a call, get online with us, but we want to be there for you and join the family. Thanks for spending the time with us tonight.